Hmm, it takes a
The
minute.
meeting is being live streamed. I had to agree to that too. So,
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, it looks like we're live. Let me,
all right.
right.
We did it. We're long.
Okay, so I want to make sure, I want to go and make sure I can pull it up where I will be able to see the comments. And I had given notice this morning, but I also said, so, oh yeah, I want to share this. Hold on a second. Um,
Do you hear these cicadas?
yes, I
I'm
know,
wondering,
right?
should I put my headset in? I don't.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I can hear them whether
The
and
headset's
I
in or
don't
not, so it's not helpful. It'll use
well,
up the battery faster, so but
right,
that's
and
okay.
I
I can plug it in, so that's no big deal.
right. Well,
So,
and I can hear them through the closed window, so I don't
oh yeah, so you're getting it in stereo too, yeah.
and I don't know if it's gonna if we could even stop it from getting on the recording at all. So
Yeah.
okay, so we are live. I do have it up so I can see the
Welcome.
chat.
Yay.
But well, we're by ourselves so far,
Yeah,
but build it and they will come.
that's right. I feel them. They're coming.
So today is Sunday. Oh, Lisa, I'm looking at the time. It's 3:33.
Oh, how fun is that? Well, it's just the
Especially,
day, isn't it? It's
right?
the
Especially
333 day, I think.
for everything that has transpired for me and at the time intervals that they have transpired. Remember, I first came out and started talking to you about this, and I said, she said at 11:11 because I saw it on the,
Yeah, it's been that way all day.
yes, it has. And then we actually were sharing with Jasmine all of what has transpired, and I saw that it was 1:11
That was fun.
while I was sharing that, and now 3:33. Okay, so you actually, I adore your idea. I didn't really know what to name this, but I felt that it was going to be a new segment
Yeah.
somewhere, wherever. And I just said today's trigger because I let folks know this morning on my Facebook page that I was triggered. But it also feels huge.
Yeah, it was great.
And because of the way the trigger happened, in having a chance to chat with you about it,
Hmm.
I could see very clearly where, well, first, and I'm going to just tell the story first, and then we can dive
Yeah,
in because
I love
I
it.
didn't even really tell it on my Facebook page, to be honest. Uh, not in its full detail.
Uh-huh.
So I want to be able to make it very clear to everyone. This will maybe also trigger a few of you. And I also want to be very clear with everyone that I see my trigger. I know that it would not have bothered me if there wasn't something within me that rubbed up against this in the way that it did. And I shared with Lisa that I have felt this building for at least a week, maybe even two, in the collective, along with in me, right? So
Hmm.
I am going to share my screen now because I would like for everyone to get a look at what actually did and I would also like to share how it all really sort of took place, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
so here's the and I hope it's able to be seen in its entirety, Lisa. You'll have to tell me. Can you see all of that?
I can, but
Oh,
excuse me,
well,
on my teeny screen,
so
it is. difficult for me, but I actually can see it if I go up
Okay. All
here.
right.
So it's good.
So,
If I can see it, they can see it.
okay. So to be very clear, I was in a private group and it's called Starseed Origins. All right. And I was really on my Facebook page, just, you know, how you do, scrolling the feed, seeing what's out there. And you can tell by the fact that when this actually took place, at the time I made this screenshot, which was after I was triggered, it had been just 1 hour. And so this was very first in my field, if you will, this morning.
Yep.
Now, mind you, I still have yesterday's earworm playing over and over and over in my head. And at least you asked me about that. And it is still there, still in yet,
I can attest. Yeah, this
right?
it's still circling.
Right. So as you can see, it says one small step for woman, one giant leap for womankind. And as you can see, at the time of my seeing this, comments were allowed, and it was not any sort of problem. Well, I apparently felt triggered enough to, this is all I did was put a little emoji of me. And in these private groups, you actually do now, you didn't always have the option of replying anonymously to different things. So really, I could have done all of that, but I don't roll that way. I stand by everything. I'm a very transparent person. I want to see all of me, and I can't do that if I'm hiding behind something. So, and honestly, all I did, you can see, can't even. And I wasn't triggered at that point. I noticed quite a short time into it that the poster came back calling my name and said, "You have a choice to vote blue in 24. Doesn't make you a Democrat or non-Christian. It's a stand against misogyny, hate, vitriol, and narcissism. It's a stand against all the deadly sins embodied into one man." And again, I will call attention to the case that this original poster identifies via a male moniker for himself. At this point, that's all I have to go on. But as I went to see uh, why my name was called here and read that, I also noticed that he turned off commenting on the post. And it was truthfully at that point that the trigger actually was quite active in my body.
Hmm.
And I cannot deny that. The energy started coming so fast and furious. As
Hmm.
you know, because you witnessed it.
Yeah.
Um, and I did, and I will also share my screen for this post because I absolutely did. Um, oh, hold on. I thought I had it up here ready and waiting, but I see that I don't. I did go and because the posts comments were turned off. And I thought, okay, well, wait a minute. This doesn't sit well with me. So hold on one second now. I'm trying to make it share the screen and it's not quite. Here we go. Here's the
You can
post.
be patient.
So I went and I put this on my own Facebook page. Again, I did not call any names on this post that I posted. I didn't do what I just shared here on my channel. I didn't even do that. This was all I did, a post on its own. So political posts not covered in rules, question mark. It's okay to post it. Just going to decide to turn off comments, dot, dot, dot. Okay. Puzzle piece collected. And I went on to say, as a natural born woman, I do not resonate with said post, and in parentheses, by a masculine named profile, no less, claiming a giant leap for womankind. And I personally feel that entire clown show is there to, quote, shake, again, we the people awake. I do not want to, no, I do want to thank OP, the original poster, however, for triggering me. I clearly feel some kind of way about this topic. Now it's time for me to trace it, find what this visceral face palm is actually tied to for me. At first glance, I have several items connected to trauma of being humiliated by a man as he would tell me how I am supposed to think about stuff. And that's just the tip of it for me. I get it if this is too deep. I, however, will not turn away from this topic and stay silent anymore. And I posted it and worded it that way again, partially because I have felt within me this building, and it's been building for some time. And I know based on what I've conversated with you and others about,
Mhm.
I know some of the things it's tied to. It's tied to, well, let's just be very clear, the gaslighting that seems to be going on in every sector of my world right now. And it's happening for a lot of other people too, of folks being told what the truth is, and you must believe it because this is the truth. When every fiber of my being says, no, no, it's not. And I know of some very specific incidences in my childhood where that is a trauma that's tied to being told, you didn't see anything, you didn't hear anything, you don't know anything, sit down and be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of my childhood.
Right.
I
Wow.
have
None of us
watched,
relate to that one.
right? And I have watched over this last little bit, most specifically for my money, in regards to people telling women things that aren't even born a woman. I'm going to do it that way because there is a difference between claiming one is something. See, this is part of that gaslighting. I don't care what somebody wants to identify as. They weren't born that way. Weren't raised that way. All of their experiences have nothing to do with that way. Do not sit and tell me what to think or how to feel in regards to that, really on anything, because in the truth of it, for me, I've come to feel that we are vessels for divinity that are here to experience the creation, and they're each one of our perceptions are colored by all of our experiences up to the moment that we begin to speak on it, everything that's gone before.
Right.
And for somebody, in this case, male,
Mhm.
obviously not having a problem with being male, saying these things to me, genuinely, I have been in relationships where misogynistic, narcissistic, all these kinds of things, abusive, you, again, no account, you don't matter kind of attitude. I, I just, and so I knew that some of it was mine. I will not shy away from that. I realize that. However, there is way more in it. And I know that, especially that rushing of energy as I was first encountering this morning, I know that it's part of the collective as well. So I won't discount that there is some of this in my field that I need to see, look at, and suss out for myself. There is also a fair amount of, again, for me, it's this gaslighting. It's this no one, and I don't care who it is, has the right to tell anybody else that their truth isn't so. Oh, including, I'm not trying to tell some feller who wants to identify and live his life as a woman. I am not telling him not to do that. No, under any circumstances you want that experience for yourself, go for it. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is somebody telling me as a woman how I ought to feel, think, and see and experience any particular thing that has to do with womanhood or anything, I guess, really for that matter, when you get right down to it. Hey,
Yeah, I was
Teresa,
going to
my
say, because that applies to a room full of women having an experience, similar conditions take place, and each one come away with a completely different experience of said events. And for me, it feels like, to me, it's almost a matter of the truth. For me, I had to redefine what is truth, because boy, it's controversial as what is a woman, apparently.
yeah, apparently we did. Oh, by special disclosure, we did watch that movie for the first time last night,
Yeah.
and I.
A young
So
man was
maybe that was
around
partly
asking
what was.
everybody that. And that could be why this morning it came to a beautiful head.
Yes, it
But
could very well be.
but that's the beauty of it when you know that all serves. This is like we were talking about this morning. This is where you're invited to bilocate, meaning walking through the valley of death, right? You're walking through it and you're acknowledging what it is, right? And you're not wishing it away and you're not mad at it. You just see it for what it is and know that it is an option among unlimited options. So if
Right.
this isn't my option, then I'm just going to keep walking until I reach something that resembles what it is I prefer. And that's really what um, the triggers are the valley of death I'm speaking on.
Well, and you're right, because I'll be honest with you, and I want to also unequivocally thank you for chatting with me this morning and agreeing to chat with me
Yeah, it was fun.
because
It was great
the,
fun.
that energy that was on board was running quite a bit, as we
Mhm.
discussed. So I'm not the kind that will uh do that thing where you swing your leg while you're shaking, or or whatever. And while this was going on, the energy was so fierce within my body, it was causing what I never actually have that going
But
on.
it was a disturbance in the field, is how
Mhm.
I experienced it for certain. It was powerful little storm there of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And when you can go right to the, well, where is the conflict? Oh yeah, where is everything? It's within me. And go right to the root. Like I'm seeing that poster in my mind of that giant iceberg, and then you got the water level right about here, and the rest of the iceberg goes unnoticed by the naked eye. But so that's really what these are, there's levels and layers to uh,
Right. And I already know that there is and will be many more beings
yes,
who will be all, and so it be, like I said, it behooves me no matter what. That's why I worded my post the way I did. I'm actually very grateful to that
Mm-hmm.
fellow. And I'm actually quite sad now to have learned that unfortunately uh the person has been banned from that group. And I that was not at all my intention. That was partly why I did not purposefully did not include any screen prints there. I did not put anything here that could be identifying in any way, because it has less to do for me with what was said and more about my own personal reaction.
Reaction to it.
Now,
Yeah.
I will say this, however, because it's a public space and whatnot, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this one is too.
Right.
And that is what I also see on the out there. So this is an observation, right? There's so much when it comes to these sorts of things where, because, and I'm saying because I have sat in that seat where I think my opinion on the thing is the right way, the only way, and if you don't agree, you're dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there, okay, so I recognize that kind of an attitude, right? Number one, but also for me, there's an awful lot of only partial thinking in this, right? Like I have heard a lot about cultural appropriation.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my things when trying to work through this with you, right, has
Mm-hmm.
been there's an awful lot of speaking out of both sides of beings' mouths and seeing cultural appropriation in one way over here under this sort of guise, but not over here, because no, that's not so to presume to tell a woman how they should think and feel, much less vote, because of a perspective that one holds regarding basically what a lot of people feel are feminist issues, which please don't get me started on that one, because that's also at the core of some of my issue is like I'd like to know where the women of a certain age actually, and I'm opening this up for comments. I want to hear from people. I don't shut my comments off for any reason. I would like to hear from folks, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, because there's an awful lot of things that we have been subjected to over a long period of time that a lot of folks thought were a really good idea and could get on board. Who doesn't want to feel like women should have equality? Everybody feels that way. But I also now see where it's been a slow tiptoe from one way of looking at that to another way. And I feel as though, all the strides that females made for becoming, equal in the eyes of their male counterparts. And now there's these males trying to tell females how they're supposed to feel about a thing,
Mm-hmm.
up to and including those who want to live and be female. I don't know what these folks, and I'm not transphobic, let me just be very clear. Not
Right.
sure what it is they think they're trying to experience, but let me just tell you, no woman likes to be told on any sort. I loved what Jordan Peterson told Matt Walsh in that movie. You want to know what a woman is? Are you married? Ask your wife. I think that was a very good, because and it is very different for each being. Each being that is, I'm very masculine female, very masculine female. I'm okay with that. I've never felt the need to be anything different than what I am. And that's just me. And I'm not saying it's wrong for anybody else.
Right.
And so, like I said, I know there's a lot of stuff tied up in here, and it's big stuff,
Mm-hmm.
deep
Yeah,
stuff.
it is. It is. But, you know, if you're willing to face and embrace the deep stuff, you are set free from the deep stuff that you refuse to acknowledge running your show, running your program, choosing your next experience. Because in reality, you created this.
Yeah,
And the faster you can see that, like try or practice, because it's not, you know, it's a do or don't do. And until you do, it's a lot of practice, really. And it's just, you know, and the more dedicated you are to your practice, the more successful you will be. This is
that's
one
true.
thing I've noticed. As
Mhm.
with any sport or athlete will tell you, you know, doesn't matter what they do, they all share one attribute, which is they have to train and hone their skills.
Right.
And so that's what we have to do too, train and hone the skills. And I feel like for me, trans people really represent what we came here to do in such a huge metaphorical way for me. And so I can see their internal struggle because I can recognize that very same struggle within me. Like we all came here to experience this physical world and then make peace with any of it that we don't like and love it into the thing that we love. See? And when you know that, you just see it as, oh, so this is my thing, right? This is where my profound alchemic, alchemical work for my life will be. And this is where my profound alchemical epiphanies will be found. And so instead of running from them, saying, I'm sorry, I can't be around you, you trigger me, and I cannot face me right now, so I'm going to take my ball and go home. And in so doing, we prolong our mission. The real reason we are here is to transform our very own darkness that is deeply within us um, by necessity for the game of duality. You know, it's required, and to make peace with that then allows you to be free of that simultaneously. And I know that seems so counterintuitive, but it is just a game of Chinese handcuff. It's the way it is. Because you'll notice that the moment you stop the tussle and the struggle, you realize, oh, I'm free, and they fall off. So that's,
Well,
to
and
me,
it's certainly
they're just doing their internal alchemy, right, in a different area than what I am doing.
right.
And when they're ready to face and embrace things, who knows, maybe they'll be sent to me to hear just the right words. And so I know that flaws aren't who we are. I know that. I already practice bilocation. I can see who you really are, your soul being, and your 3D avatar merging in this beautiful galactic universal dance of love, of pure love. And seeing it from that perspective creates the experience in my life of that dance with unconditional love. And so the more that I give it away, the more that I gift it to you, even when you can't love yourself, everyone is loved. See? And I never deplete myself by loving another because I experience the love first. It comes to me, through me, and leaves as me. And so the more that I allow and become one with the love that I truly am. And that's my mission, right? To just be here now and to acknowledge who and what I am. And then play from that perspective, create from that perspective. Um, oh my goodness. Now, when I first began, it was very intermittent, my dedication and commitment to practice. But the better I get, the more I just feel compelled to practice, right? And now I'm able to tackle some of the bigger, harder, maybe orchestral pieces, because I can handle taking a piece and really studying it and taking it to the nth degree that it can be played, which now I'm an asset in a collective communal situation by me just keeping myself fine-tuned and my skills really sharpened. So even me just, well, you could look at what I say and you could interpret it as that, when I say I'm going to put myself first at all costs. You could say, well, that's super selfish. Or you could say that is super healthy because I'm meeting my own needs. So I am not needy. I am actually now in a position of strength. And because I still continue to participate, I continue to receive. Yet, because I am not needy, I become abundant. And now in my abundance, I have great power. And in my great power of abundance, I have greater influence. And because of this influence, I now have greater creative capacity for the collective. So by me just paying attention only to me, focusing only on me, and being the best creator being that I can be in each and every moment of now, collectively creates the opportunity for all to do so and changes the actual structural milieu or chemical components of everything simultaneously. So it's worth it, not only for you, but for all that is. I'll even say it's imperative, as it is the only way it can be done.
Well, I feel like you're right about that because here's the deal. All right. For me personally, after I realized, because it wasn't what was originally said, because I really started diving into it for myself, because I
Mhm.
am very clear. Whenever I have a visceral reaction to anything,
Yeah,
I feel that's a trigger for me. And
right.
there's something there for me to look at. And
Absolutely.
whomever has done the triggering has actually done me quite the service. And I appreciate it. And I can't do
I
anything
bless
that,
them and love them
right.
and hold the vision of them seeing themselves.
Well, and here's the thing for me, I've actually even stopped doing that, and I'll tell you why. Because
Okay.
what if the whole reason for the interaction was specifically to help me see a thing about me? And
Yes.
that is exactly it, because I would make an assumption that that being is here to experience the same thing I am. And I know that that's not the case because we're all very unique, and that's the whole effing point.
Right.
So I, for because I used to actually just, so now I don't even, because I don't need to make any sort of judgment or anything else. All I need to do is see what it has evoked within me.
That's right.
And at this point, like I said, I'm grateful to the original poster because it helped me see, not all it helped me I still don't have a whole lot of answers for let's just be very clear here. But it also, because I am closely observing myself, I wanted to see exactly what was this trigger, and what, because it wasn't the original meme that really bothered me all that much. There's, especially right now, there's a lot of, stuff going on with what's the time of year it is and all these sorts of things,
Yeah.
all the stuff on the stage that we know is going to get louder and louder and more
It sure
swirly.
is. There's going to be more opportunities for triggers, which is our
Right.
gift from the universe.
And the way, so once I realized that the comments were immediately following that reply to me, telling me how uh, I ought to be reacting to this, there was a lot of stuff in there for me. There was a free speech issue right there. You get to say what you want to say and call me out and then shut it down. Doesn't really matter what the topic is about. That's that, but it also shows me
But
where,
yes, it is. He gets to do that if he
right,
wants to.
that's right. That's
And
right.
that's okay.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't have
Absolutely.
to affect you in any kind of way negatively whatsoever.
Right. And yet it did. And that is again why I wanted to look at all of these things for myself, because they're not going to, it's going to continue.
That's right. And so
I,
that's the flippant perspective that I am practicing right here for
yeah,
myself.
yeah,
Is when I feel that way to go within and say, and sometimes I just need to say, I need a different perspective and I don't know what it is. And just by my acknowledging that, and then so I put down the burden of not knowing, right? That's what I sacrifice upon the altar. And then I just sit in silence, in total surrender. All right. And I listen. And then it happened. So I could jump to that first thing, or I could pull it out of my hip pocket in as a last resort. The choice is up to me. And
right,
so I find myself pulling it out more and more, and then just kind of never putting it away and walking on it as my foundation. And pretty soon, kind of like a car or a bicycle or even a pair of roller skates, when you wear them enough and you get proficient enough at maneuvering on your new wheels or whatever that are maybe a little making you super powery, you can go a little faster and a little farther and a little longer than you could without your new apparatus. And yet a part of you can go unconscious while doing it because it's so second nature and it's just such a part of you.
right.
And that's really what I'm doing. I'm building the new foundation that is just me. It's a part of me. And so because of that, my entire life will be transformed. My life right now looks like my dedication. It's, kind of hit and miss. But you can also track the progress in my life by watching it too, because there's been profound transformations in the amount of time that I spend feeling down and depressed and unhappy with my life.
Same.
And I've got it down to practically nil. Now I stay practically nil because it still comes around. Like I find it in resistance to a natural rest, or maybe we'll call it an ebb to the flow. Now it's natural. It's an in breath. It's an out breath. It's not a good idea to have a preference and then be depressed when the other is in play. Cause it's just like, it's cumbersome and it's not the suit I want to wear anymore. It's not the platform I want to unconsciously just be from
Well,
anymore.
that is partly why, for me, when all of this went down, since it was such a visceral reaction within me personally, And by
Yeah.
the way, it was such a visceral, like I was saying, such a visceral reaction. It was affecting me physically,
Yeah.
and it affected you.
It did. It
And
did. Yeah, like
yeah,
it was turbulence in the air. And so I bobbed along in it and I had to decide if it was upsetting to me, this turbulence or not. Like, yeah, I rode the wave with you there.
right.
Mhm.
And when we first started chatting, and you were sharing your very specific experience and story, I shared with you then, and I want to
Yeah,
share with you
please
again
do. This
for
is such a
everyone
good
that,
one.
well, because if I'm going to be truthful with myself and I'm going to observe all of my thought processes as they arrive and see how I feel about them, because and I am called to do just that and not run and hide
Right.
in on anything for any reason at this point,
Hmm.
and for whatever the reason, publicly.
Right.
So there's
'Cause
that.
that's the most fun. I mean, come on.
Well, I'm not afraid to do it. That's the truth of it, because it's just me, and it's very helpful for me.
No,
And
it's very freeing for me, I
I,
have to say, to just it, because for me, it's just me and you, and energetically, I feel support, which is funny, because sometimes there's characters in the mix that show up to with a different intention, and they get lost in the support because it's grand. The support is grand, and it nullifies anything else immediately upon entry. So I don't feel it. I absolutely just do not. And so because of that, I feel energized. I feel supported. And I feel authentic, which feels really good to me because it's a relief. It's like I envision, and I'm not really sure, as I am not a nudist, but like maybe that's how a nudist feels. They feel very constrained by clothing. And I know I've talked to several that really think that it's a mask, and I get that. And so I'm saying I understand that freedom that you seek to be authentically you, and not to feel critiqued, because the nudists kind of pal around with each other, so nobody's pointing and giggling, which is a lovely
right,
experience if you're after that. I mean,
right,
you know,
right,
um, so I'm just saying maybe going on the YouTubes isn't for everybody, just as nudist colonies are really not my thing. So, perhaps it will be something else for you, you, the listener, you, the participant in this conversation here today, whoever you might be. Um, you find ways, for you, like this is how we support one another. In let us find where we are the same. And we are the same in that we are consciousness having a very particular experience. And this particular experience has a particular set of rules. And when you know the rules, you can work with the game in the way that you intended, most likely when you jumped in. And so I like to align to that part of me that was in the know when we took the dive, and I'd like for that to be the chaperone or my tour guide for the trip. And I want to feel loved and supported, and I want to feel supportful. I want to be helpful and supporting. So I want to give as good as I receive. And a lot of times I have felt that I give to my own detriment, and that the receiving end is what I, have been choking off for some unknown reason to me at this juncture. But I've just decided for whatever it is and wherever it came from, it can go back now because I have no use for it. And I'm really just focusing on being grateful for what is in front of me and finding the joy and the peace and the harmony in each moment of now. And that requires searching for the highest perspective on every subject. Again, aligning to that part of me that knew what was going on. And that's all it takes. And the rest really is cake and ice cream. So
Yes,
that's
and
great.
so for me, I'm very clear that a lot of this has to do with me sorting out programming and
Yeah.
trauma, ingrained
If you
trauma.
don't run from the chore, that is.
Right.
Let me just
Mm-mm.
throw in before you go too far away from it.
No, that's right.
Because this is
Exactly.
a mission you have to choose to accept. And then it is self sponsored and self motivated and self driven. And you know what? The benefit are also self. They are earned, if you will, meaning you become equal to that which is coming. And so that means no one can take it from you. It doesn't matter if financial systems crash, if somebody steals all your goods, the house burns down, whatever it is that you feel you've stored your value in, when it disappears, then what? So the beauty of storing your treasures within and following this yellow brick road, these bricks just come when they are sought after. So you have to say, I'm looking for bricks, and the bricks will say, oh, well, I'm over here. I'm right up here, woohoo, behind you. Well, whatever it is that needs to be accomplished will be highlighted to me. I'll know what direction to move and what to participate in. And so I don't have to worry about any of that. I'll have the nutrition. I'll have the security. I will have the abundance, the peace, the joy, uh, uh, all that I need for a happy, healthy, fulfilled, successful life on planet Earth. And that has
Yeah,
nothing to
you and
do with
I,
anybody besides me.
well, you and I, because we've been reading this book and doing so in company and being open.
Which
Well,
I
and
highly recommend, by the by.
yes. And if you find yourself interested in it, I have recorded it. Volumes 1 and 2 are complete and in their own playlist here on the channel. Just go to playlists and you can find each
And I
one of them
think you could
separately.
just play it and repeat, right? Like,
Yes, well, and they go,
or the endless loop. Sheila's read it so many times, and yet she's still finding things in it. And, I too have found, I've only read two of them twice, and I have found two different things. I have found in the past, when I revisit a subject, sometimes my level of maturity has up leveled, and I am able to see something that I edited heretofore because I didn't understand it, or I didn't have the foundation from which to see what was
right.
being presented there. So that repeat deal is okay. When I think about how I was programmed, it was on repeat is what comes to mind. And it was intense. Like, there was sound, there was music, there anything that could elicit a visceral response in any way, shape, or form. The kids were talking about this with us earlier today. Really helps to solidify that program. So, okay, well, that's just data. We could be super mad at that and go, what now? So we've all been flippity fluckered with in every which direction, and we don't know which end is up anymore. Is that what's going on here? Yes, on one level. And on the other level, you knew exactly what you were doing, and it's all for the good of all that is. So have fun. And that's really the name of the game here, is having fun. So as soon as we can like get back to that and make the foibles like really, we're funny. We're absolutely hysterical. And that's why everybody tells me I should be a comedian, but I can't write comedy. I live comedy. I'm sorry. You'll just have to hang out at the house with me because shit happens that is so effing comical. I can hardly stand it. And that makes my life entertaining and
Oh,
really worth it to just have a good chuckle at what is. And it frees me up from any misconceptions or judgments I might have about that particular thing. And it just sort of allows me to let that go and see what comes in its place, right? When you create
right.
the book. But I want to get back to really quick. I'm being shown the point I was trying to make earlier again about the choice to be upset about the programming or to take the power to rewrite the program um, from whoever I've handed it to, which, right, like I'm the one turning on. Let's be clear. I turn on the TV the moment I wake up until the moment I go to sleep. Or actually, there were times in my life where I never turned off the TV. That made me feel insecure just not to have a voice in the room made me feel insecure and I needed to have that. Something told me I needed that. Could it have been subliminal messaging I was picking up on? I don't know. But I had a deep desire to have the television on from the moment I woke up until the moment I went to bed. Like I'm feeling now, I remember feeling connected to the outside world, even sitting in my bedroom. So, okay, so I'm a little girl craving connection, and this feels like connection. And so I'm craving it, right? It craves me because it needs attention, and I need connection. And so, bada boom, bada bing. And, you know, that was a dance we did together because I even chose which aspects of it I wanted to dance with and which aspects I didn't. And so I'm just keeping that going now. And I'm deciding what aspects of life do I want to dance with, right? And I'm deciding what that is and being really clear. And then I'm hitting myself with an echo chamber of that, like, so that's what I listened to instead of the radio. I would have a book on loop that I know when I get in there, it pulls, it touches something deep within me and allows me to look at things. So instead of, you know, being informed on the latest hip hop or pop 40 countdown or whatever is playing on the radio, or for a while I switched over to talk radio and arguing some dumb set. This week I'm going to argue to my death artificial turf, and then next week tune in where I'm going to argue to my death against artificial turf. And I woke up to the fact that I can decide my own programming. I don't have to talk about artificial turf with myself and argue with myself and the radio and the two boobs talking on it if I don't want to. Like, if that isn't bringing me the joy and the peace and the life that I desire, because it wasn't. It was making me feel in conflict with the life that I had. And that was not helping me. So I turned that off and ooh, instant, there was peace in the silence. Thank you. Now I can choose my thoughts for a moment. And so when you begin to choose your thoughts, you're in a whole new level of the game, baby, because now you're writing code. And so that's what I want to do. I want to overwrite, get rid of that old programming that doesn't serve me, but then don't just leave an empty void for the next whatever to come in and fill it. Take up the mantle and learn to code and program my own success, right?
Well, for me, I want to be
And
very clear that for me, that requires my
oh, it does.
150% presence and attention, which is
Yeah.
why I saw that I was triggered.
But it's worth it because it gives you agency. So like, how do you feel now compared to this morning?
Like very, first of all, calm, centered,
Yes.
and
Yes.
also in a more, I want to say, secure stance within myself. In other words, uh,
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah.
the very, okay, so just the very act of my taking responsibility for what I was feeling,
Yep.
for calling it out,
Yep.
for speaking it aloud, for, and by the way, for allowing myself to discuss it no matter what it brought up with me,
Right.
to see where it goes and what
Yeah.
it's attached to. That's why I use the word in the post in that group. It's time for me to trace it now. And what I know very, very specifically is that it is, because I shared that one thing that I know it's attached to, having been married to abusive people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, very clearly were men. um, and, telling me what was and wasn't my place to do, and how I was allowed to feel about any of that,
Right. Yes.
that sort of thing. So I know that it's tied at least to that. And I'm certain many, many, many other things, because as I said, there was that thing about free speech in there too. And the gaslighting, that's in there too. It felt like, as I'm, and that's the beauty of recognizing for me that it is something that I, and only I, can see,
Yeah.
sense, look at, deal with, or not
Mhm.
deal with, run away from, because that's
Right.
that's on the table too. But
Mhm.
not
Yep.
for me personally, because I see, after getting to 490 pounds, that's what running from oneself leads to. I'm very clear on that now. Uh, ask me how I know. Uh, so, this feels ultimately way more powerful
Yeah.
to me, for
Yeah.
me, about me. And I'm very clear that it is only about me.
Mhm.
In this particular, I do realize that part of this drive, this time, doing it in this way with you,
Yeah.
very much is tied to, because of the way I felt driven to do it in public, have this conversation,
Yep.
just that
Yep.
very fact right there. I
Yep.
know I'm not alone.
That's
I
right.
know there are going to
Well,
be,
how many friends have asked us to talk about stuff?
right.
So there is, I remember, so this is one of the things when I was reprogramming my own programs. Um, I always had something planned and I was choosing my playlist carefully. And, you know, um, it felt like oxygen to me at the time because it was a breath of fresh air. It was external moral support in my endeavors. It was a friend, the people who were talking, who were doing the shows, they became brothers and sisters to me. So I can appreciate the value of what took place on so many different levels. The ripples of effects, so everything serves, no matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is, or your opinion on the subject, other than it matters in what you step in next. So, your opinion is the only one you need to mind because otherwise you are creating a mindset field for you to walk through, little booby traps for ourselves. And it's just because we choose, it's selective blindness, because your little spacesuit here is created or designed, maybe is a better way to describe it, to pick up on the subtle nuances of the thoughts that you're holding, because the body knows that's the blueprint for what we're to execute here in the body. And they're, unconditionally loving. There's no judgment in there for any of them, even if it means their own demise, because it will in a lot of cases, in most cases, in every case, eventually, right? But
Yeah.
it is all about the relationship with the body, the proper right relationship, and that is how we create the environment. It is not the other way around.
Well, that's but to your point,
Yes.
that actually you're pulling forward for me, and it was it was and is very important for me to trace this back and work it out, because and also because of the total visceral, how visceral it was originally. um and as I was sitting there trying to work through some of it with you, in the asking myself some questions, I said to you that I had felt this building, which is an indication to me that I am also feeling the collective, which is another reason why I wanted to have this conversation, because I also, like I said, there are I have this sneaking suspicion that there are many more out there, very much more than likely around my age, your age, who have been here
Mhm.
to witness. In my case, I was born in 61. And, by the time 69, the summer of love, and the early 70s rolled around, I'm 10 years old by 71. I, I'm seeing some things at this point, Gloria Steinem and things like this, that,
Sure.
my mother was a single parent, so I was exposed to a lot of the bra burning, attitudes, and I am woman, hear me roar, and I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, kind of
Mhm.
thing, right? And I was right there. Don't get it twisted. I'm right there too, saying all about that equality thing.
Mhm.
And so I have these also conflicting feelings when I see, folks who not born a woman, not experienced any time, no matter what a being feels like, if they present to society as one thing and they are perceived as one thing, they are treated as said thing, correct? I mean, that's pretty much, and not saying that, anything about the treatment itself, but it just feels a bit disingenuous for anyone to try to make the assumptions about how anyone else is supposed to feel about things in general. But this thing has been building in the collective in regards to all of this, and it feels like to me, and I know a lot of it is because we have our own internal confusion about how we feel about it as well. Or at least I'm gonna keep it right here with me.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
on the one hand, oh, you betcha, my body, my choice. But that applies to everything. And there for a little while, it did not. Oh, it applied, oh, sure, over here when we're talking about doing away with another, piece of divinity. But over
Mhm.
here, when it has to do with getting rid of my own piece of divinity and what I'm putting in my body in order to make other, see, this is again what I'm saying about this whole both
Mhm.
sides of the mouth kind of thing.
Mhm. Yes.
And the lack of,
And well, this is what I'm being reminded of a story that just came into me. I used to get these little childhood sermons, I called them. That's what it kind of felt like. But this was about your oh, shoot, it's leaving now because I told too much about me. Go ahead, and what were you saying
well,
last?
I'm just
It's
bringing
good.
it forward. I'm just bringing
Mhm.
it forward for myself. And I
Okay.
feel like there's a lot in the collective
Yes.
that within themselves they feel a bit confused about all of what's been going on. Again,
Yes.
I'm seeing,
Okay.
I also saw something, or did it come back?
Yeah, it did. Okay, so it was this that when I was young, even I could see. I just saw it crystal clear. The devil had no power over me. Okay, because Jesus wasn't doing anything, right? He just was loving me. Like that was his big message. He loves and he is love and be love. And that's his message. Okay. So it's a loving message. But I'm just hit by a furnace wave of heat and it knocked my story. The inside of my hands are sweating. What was I saying?
Wow, you were speaking on how
This hasn't happened
Jesus,
in a long time.
you were speaking on Jesus' love and how his love for you. It was all about, well, you also mentioned
Story.
how the devil doesn't have any power over
Yes.
you.
Okay. Yes. So, okay. So it's not like Jesus comes in and moves things or people, right? He just loves. Okay. So what was the devil's power?
In my view or yours, I
Because
don't
he
know.
can't, well, the question was asked of me by my guidance. Because he can't do anything just like Jesus can't. So where does his power lie? And the only thing that came to me is he's got the power to convince me how to behave because the choice either to follow Christ's example, be love, know your love your neighbor as yourself. And that's the new law. And I'm love and you're love, be love. Okay. So that's it. That's it. It's be love. Okay. Now, if Satan has a problem with me being love, and he wants to change that, what can he do? Well, he can do a lot of fast talking. Think of Adam and Eve story, right? He was filling her head with story, right? But she had to choose to believe the story, for one, and for two, act on it. So now she heard the story, she believed the story. So she's entertaining the story within her. She's thinking on the story and now she's acting on it. She's enacting the story that was suggested
The
to her
metaphor for that whole
from an
biting and
outside
swallowing.
being.
Yep.
So that is the power that Satan has here, is to convince you to use whose power? Your power
Well,
to
because
do as
that
you
is,
want.
I'm the only one that has
Yeah.
the power to
So,
do anything for me. That is why I won't run from this trigger
right.
or any
Okay.
trigger, in all honesty.
Well,
And
triggers
it
are
is,
beautiful. There's nothing to run for. It's a gift. Triggers are like pain. When you can know, like really know within you, see the truth of it, feel the truth of it, experience the truth of it over and over, you will see. It's like, I can't hold a thought, Sheila.
Yeah, I know. I
You know
wonder
what
what's
I'm
going
talking
on with
about.
that. That's very interesting to me.
And I haven't
Um,
had it in a super long time. That
yeah.
in particular.
Well, no worries. No worries. Well, here's the
Oh, I
thing for
feel bad.
me.
It was
This is gonna take a
really good.
while, you know.
Oh
For
yeah.
me, I okay, so first of all, again, I want to thank you so much for having the conversation with me, but also
You're
for
welcome.
well, because when we originally started this morning, I could sense your reluctance to
Well,
and when you shared the why of it, it made sense, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it also offered me the opportunity to observe myself yet and again, trying to fit myself into your perspective and feel badly about myself for not having the same.
Right.
And and
Um,
and again, for me,
That's a whole
that's all
show.
important.
That's a whole thing to talk about too. And it's an important one. Yeah.
Well, exactly, because as you're sharing your perspective with me,
Hmm.
I'm sitting there. And again, I didn't sense any of this from you. It was within me, solely within me. I watched me do it.
Yeah. Well, I felt it too. I told you, I
I
can
was
feel that.
judging myself as to how you are handling a situation for yourself and finding myself having an issue with myself over it. And then, but also watching myself do that
Hmm.
and seeing it right then and there and just allowing because there is
That's it.
nothing that
And
I
when you see it like that, now you've got the power to change it, right? Now you see nothing
exactly
has any power over me here. Nothing.
right because what I wanted to do, what I was inside, part of that was it felt again like I myself now was trying to shut me down. Remember, I even shared with you that
Oh,
I felt
yeah.
like a wall was, and again, like there's something behind that wall and it's partly the self expression. Again, it was tied, I could see it very clearly. I wanted to judge myself and at that moment self censor myself to fit myself into your perspective.
Yes. And
How
that's what
you
I have been.
you
I
were
am an
sharing,
expert at that
yes,
behavior. That's why I recognized it and could
yeah,
feel shift energetically.
right, right. Because at
That's
that
funny.
point, I was trying to self-censor myself, thinking and I know that is a bad plan for me to if I
No,
can't
there's
talk
no
about
habit.
something and figure it out, that's just a bad plan for me. You know what I mean? It's just it
Yeah.
doesn't
It might mean that you got
serve
to
me.
choose a new person to be open to, but I wouldn't say it's time to close down. It's just about finding that safe spot where you can
Right.
uh,
Well, which
be yourself.
clearly you are for me,
Yeah, yes,
right?
that's what I like about what we got going on here. That's fundamentally it, and that's gonna be the required change for humanity itself.
Right.
We have to practice the law of allowance, and it's like we're not familiar at all with that one.
No, and I
This
finally,
unit wasn't, my family of origin wasn't, and I really haven't met anyone who could take the lead and show me more than what I've chosen to focus on and investigate within myself. So I know that to get to where we're going, that is the bridge.
Yep.
And it'll look different and feel different, and the flavor is unique for each one. But there
Mhm.
are fundamentals, and maybe that's what we need to suss out um, as a group, what those fundamentals are, because then we can help each other. Like, remember, like, kind of like what our book study group has been leaning toward, like investigating the laws of the universe, and then how can I engage them to work for me and the universe and not against me and the universe. Because there's a difference, and I felt that now, and I'm really turned on by the whole working with the universe bit, and I can't get enough of it. And I think that it's going to take me to the place I want to go. And so anybody who's trying to get there, this is how we do it.
That's
I think
right.
we engage with what is. First of all, acknowledge what is. And it takes bravery, because it's easy to hide behind, well, that's not my truth. That doesn't resonate with me, and turn away from it. Because again, that's another programmed trap to keep one from looking at said trigger,
Right.
which just holds the one back who chooses to do that. So
Right.
I don't want to
Yeah,
choose.
that was the other thing that I shared with you in regards to all of this, why I didn't want to. I could have very easily said that what I was feeling was the collective or
Mm-hmm.
something like, but I
Right.
know,
Yeah.
I know for me personally that the way it presented itself to me, there had to have been and is, like I said, something in it for me. Otherwise, it wouldn't have affected me, my body, the way that it has or did this
If it
morning.
takes you out of your peace and harmony and balance and tranquility and thinking life is grand, then
Right,
there's something for you. And the reason, so this is what I've noticed. I too pick up the collective on the regular. And what I have come to recognize about that is it is because I still have resonant frequency within me on board, which is why I can hear it so acutely, because it's playing in my song.
right,
And it's rubbing me the wrong way because I don't want it in my song anymore. And
right,
so I could be mad at the song I'm singing, or I can just stop singing that song and find a new one. The
right.
choice again is up to me. I can be tortured by the song or not, and and the devil and Jesus can't do a damn thing about either one of those things.
That's right.
So it comes down to just being tending to my own business and being about what I came here to do, which is just let my light shine. And I can't do that if I'm too busy hiding it under a bushel basket because somebody might ding it, you know?
Right. No, you're so right. You're so right. Well, I'm so, like I said, I'm really very grateful that, that you are definitely, here in my life, that you're willing to have these conversations with me. I know that, especially because of the way that it still feels within now, my body is at total peace
Yeah.
in these moments of now.
Hmm.
And I feel as though I have a better grasp. However, I do have some questions, and maybe I should just. Oh, yeah, okay, thank you. I'm going to put this out as questions to those who have actually sat through this entire conversation. It's an hour and 47 minutes.
Oh
And I
my.
know there are only 4 people in the chat right now, but I do know that this will be
Realized we've
seen.
been talking so long.
I
Okay.
I do know that this will be seen by others as they,
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
so drawn, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so my question really is, if you too feel this way, here's the thing, because of what is being played out on the world stage, right? there are, for me, there's a lot of what is being played out on the world stage is tied up in this very specific trigger for me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole, I'm sorry, but I'm going to just go on and do it. What is a woman thing? Being born a woman, a very masculine woman, by the way, I might add. Um, that really, and everything that surrounds that
Yeah.
uh, is on many levels a bit, you know, unsettling because
Mhm.
there are so many things attached to that, including, sorry, going to say it, the mutilation of children. And that's definitely where that goes. And there's no denying that. And that part, but also, just like I said, eh, so coming to within myself about all of that and what is playing. I also want to find what is my role where all of that is concerned, right? Because, well, and here's the other thing I want to make very clear. There are a lot of assumptions made, and I'm aware of that too. That's why I'm very careful with my own self about what I believe is or is not happening on said world stage, right?
Right.
Now, I've been around long enough to know nothing is as it seems. Now, I know some people will see that back there and say, oh, yeah, she was them. I keep that. I did a very specific video about that. I keep that there because I don't care what anybody thinks about that phenomena. I feel that it is a part of the collective that was learning how to ask questions of itself. That, for me, from the most expansive level, that was the best thing that could have ever happened. I don't care what it was, who did it, why they did it, none of that. I'm just saying whether it worked or it didn't work, it made folks ask questions because the questions were what was being asked. And
Yep.
so, uh, because some of this other stuff you can't even question,
Right.
there's no opening for dialogue even. Uh,
Mhm.
Again, that was sort of pointed out to me in that movie that we watched last night, What is a Woman? Where
Mhm.
as soon as the brass tacks of things begins, it gets shut down. It's like people can't have a civil, honest, open conversation about these things
Yep.
without feeling the need to defend and become very, I don't know what that is that's attached to that, but there's stuff there. And so this is something that I feel on many levels, if we can allow each other the freedom to have a civilized conversation and to ask questions without getting um so offended so quickly when no one is being offensive.
Right.
um
Yep.
I don't
I
know, it's
mean,
just,
being offended is a choice.
well, again, for me, I keep being shown because I keep being shown what was said by the original poster right before they shut the comments off.
Mm-hmm.
There was a crap ton of assumptions being made about a being that a lot of people hold. I know there's these two versions that folks see of this being,
Yeah.
and it's a matter of perspective. And for me, there's a lot of assumptions that
Mm-hmm.
go into making a belief system around what a person has or hasn't said, has or hasn't done when you've never met them. You don't know, you've not seen the entire conversation that took place where this quote was quoted over here and this person said this over here and there's this until one actually yeah, again with the AI misinformation, disinformation, until one actually says, you know what, I am not in the habit of judging folks without finding out who the. I kind of, what was that Martin Luther King said? The content of their character overall, you can't just make a snap decision based on how would you feel if everybody made a choice to hold you in derision because some other person was saying something about you didn't know. We would all take issue there. And so for me, I know that there's a lot of assumptions that people are all too careful, not all care, all too happy to just overlook and take as gospel about other people. And this is in general, by the way, it don't even have nothing to do with one person in particular, although it's because we were talking about the world stage, it's right out there in your face to really see it. And I think that's the entire point, more to the other
It's
thing.
like a Saturday Night Live skit to me now. You know what I mean? Like I watch it as though I'm watching Saturday Night Live, and it's hilarious.
Well,
It is quite funny.
it is, but Lisa, and I know we're coming up on 2 hours now, and I'm going to close it out, but
Yeah, thank you.
I want us to get together and talk about this again, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Part of the reason I guess I see myself doing what I'm doing about this big collective issue is
Mhm.
because there feels to be an inordinate amount of folks who continue to use the words battle between good and evil and these sorts of things and feel like that is what's taking place. Now,
Well, for them it is.
because
Trust
we are
me,
do
within
right.
themselves.
Well, and because we reading this book, and I really, it's the first time I was ever, asked to consider the concept of thought thinking within itself. But boy, when you start, that is, I feel as though that explains an awful lot
Hmm.
about consciousness in general. And okay, so if I take that premise on board,
Hmm.
there's again going to point out this is an assumption on my part. It feels like a lot of folks feeling and thinking just what I said before about it being a battle and all of that. So
Right.
in me, I want to quell said battles so that I'm not aiding and that because I know
It's
that
not
that
a
language,
problem energetic, right? When you
I'm being
align with
shown
that.
that everywhere.
Hmm.
And
And
I
so
do
if you want
wish
to change the collective, then you've got to do something totally different than what the collective is doing.
right.
And that's not always the easiest thing. And so if you can acknowledge that going in, that helps me. I just
Well,
say, I know, and now for something totally different. I
I
say to
said
myself
that.
quite a lot when I catch myself being silly.
Yeah, I said that the other day. So Teresa said a little while ago, it's a battle between the organic and the inorganic, really. Even the gender stuff seems part of it, and she's right about that, I think.
Mhm.
Organically, we are love. She R was all in caps. All the rest just seems different levels of the absence of love, maybe. She said, seems when we know that, then we know we're here. Just walk together back to love or home. Yeah, I do feel that's, and that's why I guess I wanted to bring it back to what uh, I want to root out all of that within me because of if thought thinking within itself does, especially with oomph of emotional backing. And I know I'm a
Ooh,
powerful
man,
being,
that's like throwing gasoline on a fire, baby. Woo! That'll be fast and furious.
right? And I know that my energy can be felt. I know that I have a powerful presence. So if I get all up about something, that is an energetic push for it to come straight into reality, into the physical. And
Yes.
I would like to let's be don't go there, shall we?
Yes, thank you. You're not going to be given what you're not ready to handle. So, honestly, if you want to handle a great deal of power, you must first be responsible for the power you have, if that makes any sense.
No, it made perfect sense. And actually turning and looking at this situation for myself, this trigger,
Yes,
that does it puts a lot of it hands me the responsibility
yes.
me
And the
for me.
power. So now you've got the steering wheel and the gas pedal,
Yes,
and of course, the brakes.
right. Well, I do appreciate you so much, my dear, and I really do wish to
Yeah,
hear
this
from
is lovely.
others,
Yeah.
especially those who might be, you know, grappling with any number of the things that I brought up within yourself. Reach out to us, conscious conversation central at gmail.com or sassy seer. I know I want to keep it at conscious conversation central at gmail.com. I only need the one email because eventually, hopefully, I'll find another way to do this and we'll bring conscious conversation central back because
Hmm.
that's really where it's at, man, is the
I know. I agree.
conscious conversations like this one.
That's
Thank you
what I
so
mean.
much, my dear. I appreciate you.
Love you. Thank you so much for inviting me to play in this way because I love it.
Okay. Well, I want to say to those who are here now, and thank you so much for coming and hanging out. And if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, do like it and do subscribe if you feel so led. Um, I like to end every one of these by saying, move towards that which brings you the highest joy in each moment that presents itself to you, because it really is a choice that I have if I'm presented with something and it's
Yeah.
not a great thing. Like, well, what happened this morning? Maybe you're triggered, right? So you're presented with something and you're triggered, right? Because that's I do feel as though I looked at that and moved to where what was my highest joy. And my highest joy was looking at it, talking about it, getting it out of me so I could see it for what it is and handle it within myself. And I'm so appreciated. Not just your help, Lisa, but everyone that's here
Yeah.
actually has assisted.
I do. Everyone. Much love.
Till next time.